This is a 06 Toyota Tundra with a 4.7 liter V8 in it. I was going to show you a couple things about whenever you're pulling the engine and your replacement engine. Hopefully you won't have to go through this, but I had to take the intake manifold off on this one once I got the engine out, because the salvage yard that this engine came from, they just decided to cut the wiring harness. You can see right here where they cut it there, and they cut it here. I mean, they just totally cut up the wiring harness. They didn't have to do that. I'm going to show you over here. Now, I've already unbolted this wiring harness, so it's just laying here, but I didn't have to cut it or anything. It came out with the engine whenever I pulled it. Right here is a single connector. It's pretty much the only connector that you have to disconnect to get the wiring harness off, other than unbolting the main harness off from the block in different places. As far as the harness that goes underneath the intake manifold, that was the one wire that you would have to disconnect, which was a simple connector. Now, if you cut it like they did, you'll end up having to take the intake off from your old engine in order to get all the wiring that's underneath here off, because you can't reach it with the intake manifold on there. So I'll go ahead and show you up in the engine compartment. There's several different wires. Some O2 sensors, there's fuel injector wires, the coil wires. You can see right there where this harness right here is bolted to the back of the engine. You just unbolt that and then take the other main harness off, and then take that little plate off right there that holds the ground, and then take the O2 sensors wiring off. Now, the O2 sensors will come out with the engine whenever you pull it out, but just disconnect those wires and then take the connections off your battery box. You have a connection right here underneath, and then you'll have the one right here, and then also I believe there's one on the top side somewhere that I took off. But it's really not it just takes a long time to undo all the wiring. The actual pulling of the engine wasn't that bad. It was actually came out pretty easy once I had everything disconnected. And once I got, there's 2 bolts on each side holding the engine mounts, which you can see little hooks on there. It makes it pretty easy to stab it back in. The only other issue I had is the exhaust manifold bolts. Half of them broke whenever I was trying to take them off, and the replacement engine from the salvage yards, they broke off the bolts also. So I'll be tapping those out and rethreading them and putting some new bolts in there to get it back in the truck. But other than that, I just mainly want to show you the wiring harness situation, where hopefully they don't cut your wiring harness to where you don't have to take the intake off in order to change out your wiring. But other than that, thanks for watching my video.